Picture a major historical event, maybe the American Revolution or the fall of the Berlin Wall. You probably have a clear image in your mind, with heroes and villains, a neat beginning, middle, and end. But ask yourself, where did that image come from? Did you live through it? Or did you learn it from a textbook, a movie, or a classroom lesson? We often treat our memories of history as solid facts, but most of what we know was chosen for us, selected, edited, and shaped to fit a certain narrative. Textbooks aren't just lists of dates and names, they're tools for building a shared national story, a sense of identity. But in creating this story, a lot gets left out. The process is about choices, what to include, what to ignore, and how to frame it. These choices are influenced by governments, cultural values, and what a society wants to believe about itself. The result? Our memory of history is part fact, part story, crafted by someone else. To truly understand the present, we have to ask, what parts of the story are we not being told? Why do nations care so much about history textbooks? Because they shape identity, especially after wars or revolutions. In classrooms, students across a country read the same stories, building unity and a sense of belonging. Textbooks don't just teach facts, they teach values, defining what it means to be a good citizen. The stories chosen often support the nation's current goals, whether that's democracy, economic growth, or reconciliation after conflict. But whose version gets told? Usually the winners and those in power decide. This can erase the experiences of minorities or political opponents, creating silences as powerful as the stories themselves. Textbooks can unite, but they can also teach generations to forget inconvenient truths. What's left out is often as important as what's remembered. After World War II, Japan had to rebuild not just its cities, but its national identity. History textbooks became a battleground. Should they confront Japan's wartime actions or soften them? Many new textbooks downplayed events like the Nanking Massacre or reframed colonization as modernization. Even the language changed, invaded, became advanced into. These subtle shifts changed the moral weight of history. The result? Decades of controversy, both within Japan and with neighbors like China and South Korea, who accused Japan of whitewashing its past. Inside Japan, progressives pushed for honesty, while nationalists wanted textbooks to promote patriotism. This struggle shows that national memory is always being negotiated. What's in a textbook isn't just about facts, it's about pride, politics, and how a country sees itself. For students, the version they learn shapes how they see their country and the world. In the US, textbooks long presented the civil rights movement as a simple story of a few heroes, Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr. Parks was described as a tired seamstress, not a trained activist. King as a dreamer, not a critic of poverty and war. This version downplays the depth of segregation and erases the thousands of activists who risked everything for change. It suggests racism was just a few bad laws, now fixed, making it harder to understand ongoing inequality. Over time, activists and educators fought to expand the narrative, including grassroots organizers and the broader struggle. They pushed for textbooks that show the movement's complexity and national scope. The fight over how we remember the civil rights movement is ongoing and shapes how we see justice today. How we tell the story matters as much as the story itself. After the fall of the Soviet Union, Eastern European countries rushed to rewrite their histories. Under communism, textbooks glorified the Soviet Union and erased national stories. New textbooks celebrated national heroes and recast Soviet liberation as occupation. This rewriting restored pride, but also fueled nationalism and sometimes ignored uncomfortable truths, like local collaboration with Nazis. The new narratives often define nations in opposition to Russia, sometimes glossing over their own dark chapters. For the first post-Soviet generation, history was no longer lived experience but a new story in a book. Within a generation, national memory was transformed, showing how quickly official stories can change. Textbooks weren't just teaching history, they were building new nations. Textbooks provide the script, but teachers are the directors, and some refuse to stick to the official story. Across the world, courageous educators fill in the gaps using diaries, photos, and oral histories to challenge the narrative. They encourage students to ask questions and see history from multiple perspectives. Take Bill Bigelow, who put Columbus on trial in his classroom, revealing the impact on indigenous peoples. These teachers often face risks, job loss, accusations of being unpatriotic or worse. But their work is vital. They show students that history is not just facts, but arguments and perspectives. By teaching critical thinking, they help keep national memory honest and alive. The story is always more complicated than the textbook says. Textbooks create heroes and villains: George Washington, Joan of Arc, national enemies. Heroes embody virtues. Villains define what we're not. But real people are never that simple. Turning complex figures into one-dimensional icons means editing out flaws and contradictions. For example, Thomas Jefferson is celebrated for liberty, but textbooks often gloss over his role as a slaveholder. This shapes how we judge leaders today and makes honest conversations about national flaws difficult. A mature national memory means seeing historical figures as complex humans, not just symbols. It's not about rejecting heroes, but about embracing the messy reality of history. Only then can we learn from the past, rather than just admire or condemn it. So, whose story gets told? Usually, it's the story of the powerful, the winners, the leaders, the dominant groups. The voices of the marginalized are often left out, making some students feel invisible. When textbooks include diverse stories, they create belonging and empowerment. The way we remember the past shapes the future. Ignoring injustice makes it harder to build a just society. An honest, inclusive national memory is the foundation of a healthy democracy. Our national story is always being rewritten, and you are one of its authors. By questioning, seeking out silenced voices, and demanding honesty, you help shape the next generation's memory. The stories we choose to tell will determine where we go next.